Hey, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Marjie Hadad, global public relations expert, author of award-winning international #1 bestseller, The Power of PR Parenting, How to Raise Confident, Resilient, and Successful Children Using Public Relations Strategy, award-winning TV producer, as well as speaker on how moms, mentors, and entrepreneurs can use their own public relations superpowers to thrive in every aspect of life. Marjie, it's great to have you here today. One of the things I want to start off with, and one of the things that that you talk about, is how to raise confident, resilient, and successful children. I really want to kind of hone in on the word resilient, because I think it's something that is not necessarily taught. I think it is taught, but I think it's learned through observation. It's learned through so many different ways. Talk on that kind of one lesson or one epiphany people have when they realize they have more resilience than they even thought they did, and how they tap into that, like intrinsically.
Intrinsically, it's about trying, seeing how you do. If you succeed, good for you. If you don't, intrinsically you say, do I try it again? How do I try it again differently so that I might achieve success the next time, or maybe just a little bit more success than the previous effort?
Yeah.
That's the intrinsic. Now, the way we can help our colleagues, our children, our friends, is when we see them going through this process, to cheerlead them and to encourage them to try again, and not to dwell on the negative, but to talk about other ways to approach the same thing in order for them to have a greater degree of success.
Yeah. And how do we do that so we sound like we're a friend and not a therapist?
We listen.
Okay.
And we ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we say, do you want advice, or do you want me to just listen?
Yeah.
Offer both options, because sometimes people just really want to be heard. They just want you to hear them out. And sometimes they say, I'm stuck, and if you have any ideas, bring it on.
Yeah.
And in that case, you have an invitation.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. The power of a question is very powerful. And I think sometimes, so many of us go to tell when really we just need to take a moment, pause, and ask. Let me ask you a question. Let's talk about, in what you're teaching, when it comes to the power of PR parenting. I'm a parent. I have 2 children. My wife and I have 2 kids. They're 18 and 21. And I think a lot of what the kids pick up on is not necessarily what we say, but what they observe. And so, what does it take to be a really good mentor, both as a teacher, but also just in kind of how you move in your space, so you're actually a mentor as people observe you too?
Well, first of all, let's just agree that there's no such thing as the perfect parent.
Yeah, I know I will agree with that. Yeah.
Made tons of mistakes,
Yeah.
Still making them, definitely not the perfect mom. But what I do try to do is guide rather than criticize, and try to lead by example. And if I find myself doing something that's not exactly the way it should be, I try to catch myself and redirect. Or I apologize to whoever I'm with and say, you know what, I could have done this better, and this is how I could have done this better. So there's all sorts of ways to slice that onion, Jonathan, but at the core of it, we want to guide rather than criticize. And we want to try to role model as best as we can, whether the circumstances are positive and we're celebrating, or the circumstances are negative and we're mourning something. In all cases, we are setting an example of how to do it.
Yeah. Great. It's good. And in picking a mentor outside of a parent, right? Because some of us, need those, have those, crave those as well. How does somebody pick the right mentor for them?
I'm going to tell you about the mentor that I chose in the very beginning. A wonderful man named Bob, and he was the managing editor at a television station that I interned at as a teenager when I was in college. And I chose him because he was genuinely kind, and I saw that he wanted to help to build me up.
Yeah.
Rather than push me down and challenge me in a negative way. He wanted to show me the way so that I could do better. So in short, he brought the sunshine. So when you're choosing a mentor, it's somebody who brings the sunshine and who wants to see you succeed and to build you up.
Yeah.
And not through some sort of adverse, weird kind of ways. Just really straightforward. Here's an example how to do it. If you do it this way and it's not, it could be improved. They say, you know what, this is one way to do it. Let me show you another. And constantly giving positive reinforcement and encouragement to keep trying.
It's great. I've had great mentors. I have great mentors, but I've also had great mentors that started as this and then ended up being not this. And I think, to your point, it's when the sunshine goes away and there's hints of not propping you up to give you the best path. Sometimes you can grow out of a mentor, is what I have found, right? Sometimes you just grow out of them and it's time to move on, and you get what you got from them. And then it's time to move on and find the next person who is on the path with you. And so I think that's a great description. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. I had a mentor as a professional in the public relations business. His name was Charlie Levine, and he was absolutely fantastic in every single way, shape, and form. And then, unfortunately, he passed away. Now, Charlie and I would always connect when we were working together because we were in the same agency for years. And then even after we went in our different ways, we would always connect regularly just to check in. When he passed away, obviously I was so sad and devastated. And to this day, because he was such an influential mentor, I think, how would Charlie have handled that?
Yeah.
And I try to tap my inner Charlie. And he had some good ones, and they stay with me, and I execute them until today.
Yeah, I had a business coach for a long, long time and mentor. His name was Jules Rappaport, and he also unfortunately passed away. But I often, when I'm in situations, I say to myself, what would Jules do? What would Jules say? How would Jules react? What would Jules guide me to do? But yeah, no, that absolutely. I love that. Let's do a little mini business course on your book.
Okay.
So you're the author of the award-winning international #1 bestseller, The Power of PR Parenting: How to Raise Confident, Resilient, and Successful Children Using Public Relations Strategies. And so let's kind of talk about 3 of those strategies in this mini business course. What is strategy number 1?
Strategy number 1, we're going to revisit a theme we've already identified, which is guide rather than criticize. If you want to inspire your children or your colleagues or partners, anyone in your life, if you are working with them, especially in a business situation, and you're reviewing their copy, or in the case of public relations, you are media training or your presentation training, or in any kind of business, we're always writing some version of a document. We're always preparing for some sort of pitch, right? Whether it's a deck, investment, what have you. Whenever you make that first draft, there's no such thing as the perfect first draft. We all know it because everyone has to have their 2 cents. And guess what? That 2 cents from everybody looking at it from different angles makes that product that much better. So we guide rather than dwelling on the negative. We don't even talk about the negative. We say, okay, let's look at it this way. Let's approach it that way. How about this idea as another way to do it? Guide rather than criticize. Number 1.
Good. Number 2, love it.
Number 2, cheerlead. We hear a lot of the negative. That's just natural for what's going on in the world. You know, whether it's a negative body language, whether it's negative feedback. And after a while, we'll probably believe it if we hear enough of it.
Yeah.
Correct. So if we cheerlead, if we hear positive feedback enough, hopefully we'll believe that too.
Good. I love it. I agree with that. Positive reinforcement. Number 3.
Number 3, stand up for yourself, believe in yourself, and know that it is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, anything worthwhile is going to take a little time to pull off. But when you do finally pull it off, it's an amen, hallelujah. And just have the resilience to go the distance.
Yeah, it's great. Good. I love that. Let me ask you a question. So you've written this book and about parenting, but there's no class that you want to be a doctor, you go to med school. You want to be an attorney, you go to law school. You want to do X, you get a master's. I don't know many curriculums that are teaching people how to parent. Why is that, do you think?
Actually, Jonathan, there are an awful lot of parenting experts out there and a lot of psychologists who comment on parenting. And
I'm talking about in the like scholastic world, like in the academia. It's not really, it doesn't seem to be layered in at all.
In the academia. Well, I would actually argue that there are psychologists who have written works that have been published. But I think I'm going to speak to your point right now. Listen, there's no instructions that come with the kids when they arrive. I wish they did. I wish they had a tag that says, on this one, you wash it on cold. On that one, you wash it warm. That would be wonderful. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, that's not the case. And that's what makes parenting so exciting.
Yeah.
Because each kid has their own unique way of functioning, their own way of seeing things or reacting to things, their way of thinking, whether it's in the box or out of the box, coloring inside the lines, out of the lines. Listen, I have 3 children, boy, girl, 27, 24, and 19, and they're all distinctly different. And they're all distinctly the same all at the same time. Yeah. But what works with one doesn't necessarily work with the other. And then they get pissed off at you if you're treating one in one way and another in another way. But the bottom line is, I'm trying to achieve an end goal. Like in public relations, there's an end goal, and then you reverse engineer to get to your end goal, short, medium, or long term. Yeah. With your tactics and your strategies. Yeah. So as parents, our tactics and our strategies might differ according to the kid.
Yeah.
So I think that we don't see too much in the documentation because I suppose that there would need to be studies done. And I've often said that I'm not a parenting expert, nor am I a psychologist. I'm a PR expert who by chance happened to bring my superpowers of PR skills home to benefit my kids. Yeah. And it wasn't really heavy lifting because I only wore one hat. I didn't wear multiple hats. I brought my full self to what I had done over the years. Unknowingly.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book figuring that, one of the reasons was if this worked out for me unknowingly, applying public relations skills and my professional skills at home, can you imagine how much better the readers and the next generation of entrepreneurs and working people would do, working parents would do if they actually had the playbook? If I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
Well, now
yeah, no, I think it'd be great. But I would like, it would be interesting to see over the next decade, some of the soft skills and education that maybe isn't, in the academic world be more kind of front and center, where people like yourselves who are writing these types of books and, psychologists, anybody writing a book in this field, could be teaching classes that people, can take as an elective or things of that nature. It would be nice to see this a little bit more mainstream.
I'll tell you what, Jonathan, If anyone invites me from any university or college, I'll be glad to teach the course.
Yeah, same. I'll do one on business. You can do one on parenting.
Hey, we can partner up. We can do it together.
Although I think I could teach a couple things on parenting. I've been a parent for a while, so let's talk about PR for a minute, just in general in business. PR it's a long-term game. Like you talked earlier, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Whether you're using the tactics at home or in business, I always found that somebody. When I was 23, I started an internet company out of college, and there were some articles that people would reference years later when I would meet them, and it always lit this light bulb that PR has such a long shelf life. You may not necessarily see the immediate pop in it, but it has a really long shelf life. And so, talk a little bit about PR and why companies should be investing in PR today. Even I think it's more important than ever.
If what your company is doing is important, it's changing the world in some wonderful way, in some way, shape, or form. In order for people to adopt what you are providing, they need to know that you exist in the first place. And they need to understand what your why is and how you're contributing and how it's going to make their lives easier or contribute in a positive way to society. If they don't know who you are and what you're doing, or they don't understand what you're doing and what the reasoning for it is, your why, then it's lost on them.
Yeah.
Like in the scientific community, for example, if you're a biotechnology firm or a medical advice firm, right? You have brilliant scientists, but if they speak in very high scientific language that they would use in a scientific journal, no one's going to get them, at least not the average person.
Yeah.
And if they can learn through public relations and media practices to speak science 101, what I would call it, for the average person to understand and how it's going to benefit them, then they're able to achieve their goal and get to where they want to go, and ultimately have not only an immediate positive impact, but a long-term positive impact. And I mean that could also contribute to future generations if it's done right.
Yeah. Let's talk about done right for a second, because you would know better than me, but I remember when I got into the business world when I was 23, there was this idea that PR was only for companies who were in crisis. I never really kind of bought into that. We were always doing PR from the beginning because we saw the urgency of it in a market that was changing so quickly. But I don't think today it's the same. I think the idea that you only do PR when you're in a crisis has evolved to PR is always a good thing. And so, can you just talk about those two mindsets and from your perspective and how they've evolved?
Absolutely. Well, as a general rule, I would say PR is for raising awareness, sharing your key messages with the appropriate audience in order to achieve whatever your short, medium, and long-term goals are. Keeping in mind that it is a marathon and not a sprint, and it is a process. Sometimes it happens overnight, but generally speaking, it takes some time for people to get the idea, to get the message, to be able to achieve your goals. Crisis management, absolutely. It's one of the deliverables of a public relations firm, consultant, what have you, PR professional. Yeah. When something doesn't go quite right, what do you do? Or maybe you don't do anything. Maybe you just let it fly on by, and become yesterday's news. Yeah. Or sometimes you need to be proactive and get ahead of it. It all really depends. That's a case-by-case kind of thing. Yeah. There's all sorts of reasons for PR, the two that we just described, and all sorts of other things along the way. But a communications program is ultimately extremely important to any company that wants to have great success.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah, I agree. Communication, tight messaging, and is so important, more today than ever before. Because oddly, people don't read as much; they skim. They don't watch the videos necessarily. They read the captions more, right? So we got to have different communication programs on all the social fronts and on everything we're doing. I find myself talking to clients about that all the time. All the time.
What's the headline? Sometimes people are interested in the details, but more importantly, everyone wants to know what's the headline in 5 seconds or less.
Yeah. And that hasn't changed. I double majored in journalism and economics, and I'm 52. So now, we're talking, 30 years ago. But that was the important piece then, right? People, they would say, read a newspaper at that time for 8 minutes a day on average. They read the headline, the first paragraph, and the last paragraph. So yeah, that's key. Headlines are key. And headlines are something that's sometimes they're so simple, they're complicated. And why you need a professional to help you, say in one line a full message, which I know you do with your clients. Let's do a quick speed round. A book that's had the biggest impact on you.
Trust Your Intuition.
That was the book?
Yes, by Robin Pollock.
Oh, good. I'm going to check that out. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
That's a good one. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do and every company can do to raise their awareness is?
Appear on podcasts.
It's a good one. I think that's a great one. And you've been a great guest. Marjie, tell everybody who your ideal clients are, where they can connect with you, where they can buy your book, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you. The book, The Power of PR Parenting, is available anywhere that books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's available in all formats, including audiobook as of this past April. So we can either chit-chat together or we can read and chit-chat together because the book is written conversationally and it's a really quick read. And it's a lot of fun. And thank you very much for being readers. And in terms of my ideal client, I love to talk about this subject and I love to help as many people as possible. And in the first week of August, I'm going to be on a stage in Chicago. In November, I'll be in Paris. And I'm looking forward to speaking on as many stages and helping as many people as I possibly can to learn how to use your superpowers, your PR superpowers, your professional superpowers, to help you solve those daily challenges and problems, the expected, the unexpected, and some things that have been unsolvable until today.
That's great. Well, I'm excited for you to talk on the stage in Paris and in Chicago and all the other stages that you talk on around the world. I appreciate you taking all of your knowledge from a business perspective and repackaging it and putting it in your book, so people can apply it into their life. In community, I always like to extract at least one thing from every talk. There were so many things that you shared, Marjie. I'm a business coach and I work with people who are successful and stuck, and I work with them to get them unstuck. And I love this podcast because I get to have guests like you who are in alignment with my mission to get people unstuck. Something I just want to extract is the importance of being the guide and asking questions so people intrinsically can get to their own level of awareness in many, many ways. It's powerful, and your book has powerful tools in it to help so many people. So congratulations on all of its success and your success. Think community, if Marjie can help you, please reach out. Again, pr4.life is the website. You can get to everything. You can book her for a talking gig, guide the book, et cetera, et cetera. And you can reach me at johndwoskin.com if you want to talk about any coaching. Marjie, any last thoughts?
Peace, love, and light, and eye on the donut. Thank you so much for having me. It was such fun.
That was great. Thanks, Marjie.